So, hello everybody and welcome. Yes, welcome back here at BSN Network. Today we'll be back here at BSN Network. This is the BSN Network podcast here today. It is Wednesday, November 4th. Hope everybody's having a good day so far and a good rest of their day yesterday. I know I did. Hopefully you did as well. It is, in fact, November 4th, Wednesday today. Halfway through the week. Tomorrow, Thursday Night Football. Tonight, we'll be talking a little bit about it. Tonight, we got a couple of smaller college football games on, but I'm perfectly okay with that. It's sports. It's something to watch. So I'll definitely be watching that tonight. Some of the smaller football games that are on. Should be fun to watch. Smaller teams, Northern Illinois, Buffalo, Central Michigan, Western Michigan, I think are some of the teams, Toledo, some of the teams that are playing today. So, not your big name, your Clemson, your Alabamas, your Miamis, your Oregons, your all that. You're not your big ACC teams, not your big SEC teams, not any of those teams, not your powerhouses like Ohio State and stuff. Your smaller teams, but like I always say, it's sports. It's a good football. It's good football. These are also, I know sometimes that these players on these smaller name schools, these players, the players in college, obviously sometimes don't get televised that much. And when they do, it's a big opportunity for them to not only show them, the school, their talent, but to show possible, recruiters, because if you look at it, college doesn't, you don't really get recruiting really at some of these smaller schools. Some of these recruits will look at the top players. The top players usually come out of Alabama, they'll come out of Clemson, they'll come out of Ohio State, they'll come out of Michigan. That's where some of these big name players come from. A lot of these first round picks are coming from big name schools. So they're not really coming from, these smaller name schools like even like Oklahoma. Those are all big name schools. LSU, those schools. They're not really coming from Northern Illinois or something. So, actually, that's why sometimes you see a good game when they're on, because they're trying to really show people. And they know they're televised. They don't get televised very often. With the channel, when they get televised, they know that, a lot more people are watching them than usual. So, they try to show off. But, obviously, it is a football game, so I'll watch it. Am I going to root for anyone? No, really. I'm just going to watch the game. There's about 4 games on. ESPN Plus, ESPNU, ESPN2, ESPN3. I think they're all on, so I think I get all those. I do get all the ESPN channels, so I'll one game starts early, the other games start later, so I'll probably watch the early game, then I'll probably flop back and forth between a couple of the games. When one goes to commercial, turn on another one. Kind of just do that. But today we do have a lot of sports to get to. Today is non really talking about the NFL games today, but we are talking about the NFL and the MLB today. So we're going to get into a little bit of that. These are the topics for today. We got the NFL midseason predictions. Going to kind of just run through my midseason predictions, tell you what I think, why I think this, and I'm going to give you each division winner. I'm going to go through each division, tell you who I think is going to win a division and why. And then I'm going to make my mid-season. I know this is not early. I know it's a little too early, but I do usually try to do this. It's halfway through the season, so I'm going to make my mid-season, very early prediction for the Super Bowl. And then once the season ends, after Week 17, I'll talk about my playoffs, give you my full-on playoff bracket prediction. So this is kind of my midway through the season, my, who I think is going to win a division the rest of the way, because now, like I said, going into Week 9, you have a pretty good idea. I said November's a big month. You get a pretty good idea of who's in, who's not, who's barely in, who's barely out, who's a long shot, but their chances aren't completely done. Maybe like a team like maybe, who could be a long shot? Maybe a team like, I don't know who could be a long shot. Maybe a team like the Vikings could be a long shot, but they're not completely out of it. They are 2-5. Not horrible. Same thing with the Panthers. They're 3-5, but they're not out of it. They're kind of in, but the chances are slimmer. So you'll see a lot of that, and then you'll see these 500 teams, like these teams like Miami. What are they gonna do? Currently, they're in Is that going to continue? What's going to happen? Then you'll see these teams like, the Raiders, where a lot of people are hyped up. Are they going to live up to the hype? Are they going to fully slow down? It seemed like the Broncos aren't completely out of it. They're 3-4. They start stringing a couple wins together. They could be very well in position. So that's why November is a very fun month. And then you get into December, and that's where your final, 2-3 weeks of the season are, where your final teams. A 500 team battling out with another 500 team. The winners in, the losers out. You get some of those games. But going after November, you get a very good idea. Now you have a pretty good idea of who's in and who's not. I mean, for example, the Jets are not going to make it. Teams like the Jets aren't. The Jaguars aren't. The Texans more than likely aren't, bearing an insane 7-8-0 finish. The Giants more than likely aren't, but in the NFC East, anything's possible. So you can't count them out officially, but more than likely them. And the Falcons probably aren't. And the Niners, they're in it, but they're 4-4, and injuries just keep hurting them. So you don't know what's going to happen with them. But we'll talk about that. Then we got the MLB awards predictions. I'll give you awards. So the awards came out yesterday. The Gold Gloves came out yesterday, but obviously the MVPs and stuff like that haven't. So I'll give you who I think is going to win that. And then to cap it off, I'll predict tonight's college games, even though they're small games. I know all the teams that are playing tonight. I know all the teams that are playing it tonight. So I've heard of them, watched them, seen them. So I'll base my predictions off of that. And I did a little bit of research before the podcast, kind of on teams, over-unders, spreads. Not that much. I'll kind of just go off of the spread because I don't know too much about these teams. But that's kind of my deal there with tonight's college football games. And then tomorrow, I'm pretty sure we have more games on, but we also have the NFL game tomorrow. Although the Niners do have a positive test, so we'll analyze that, see what happens there. As of right now, the game is still on for tomorrow, but if anything changes, I'll keep you guys updated. So with all that being said, this is the BSN Arc podcast, and let's get right into it. So we're going to give you my NFL midseason predictions. I kind of went over it big time in the podcast, early on in the podcast. You got each division, 4 teams in each, 30 overall. I'll give you who I think, or 32 overall, sorry. I'll give you who I think is going to win each division, who's going to win the AFC East, who's going to win the AFC West, who's going to win the AFC North, and who's going to win the AFC South. And I'll do the same thing for the NFC East, NFC West, NFC North, NFC South. I'll do the same for them. Now, the NFC East is going to be interesting. And at the moment, these are the playoff standings. The Steelers, Chiefs, Buffalo, and the Titans are all in the playoffs. They're all the AFC leaders. So those are all your division leaders. And then the other 2 teams that are in the wild card right now, this would be the wild card game, would be the Ravens and the Colts. So the Browns are still there, Raiders are still there, Miami and Denver are there, and then you got, Cincinnati, and that's where you get down to the list where, the chances are pretty much impossible. And then the NFC leaders are the Seahawks, Buccaneers, Packers, Eagles, and the wild card right now is the Saints and the Cardinals. Then you have the Rams on the outside looking in, got the Bears, got the Niners. I don't think the Niners are going to last for very, very long. I think they'll definitely plummet. And then you have the Lions. And then you start to go down to your bad teams where their chances are pretty much impossible at this point. So I'm going to run through each division, tell you who I'm going to win, who's going to win the division, in my opinion. Now, I'm not going to predict the future. Some divisions are definitely easier than others. Some divisions I will predict right. Some I might not, because some divisions are still toss-ups. Other divisions I think are pretty secure on who's going to win. So I'm going to give you who's going to win in each division. And then after that, I'm going to tell you my Super Bowl prediction. I know it's early, but it is mid-season, people. We are talking about playoffs a lot. I mean, after mid-season, that's really where it is. The beginning of the season's a feel. You got to see who's who, what team is which, what teams are surprises, what teams are normal, what teams are, surprising in a positive or a negative way. And now we got to see how all these teams really unfold. And down the stretch, in a season like this, where it's very different, we'll really see the more experienced teams I feel like might prevail. So just keep that in mind for my later on prediction. A lot of these more experienced teams in a season like this, in a year like this, where it's very abnormal, you might see some of these more veteran, experienced teams with a lot more skill. They might do better late, because they know the situation, they've been in it. Good leaders in the locker room are going to make the difference, I think, this season. So with all that being said, let's get right into it. So I'm going to go through, like I said, go through the East, West, South, North divisions for each conference, and then I will give you my early Super Bowl prediction, and then obviously when the season ends, I'll give you my playoff bracket where I'll fill it all out, and then, we'll just see what happens from there. So with all that being said, here we go. So we're going to start off with the AFC, go down, then go to the NFC, like I said. So here we go. So we're going to start off with the AFC East. The current standings in the AFC East are the Buffalo Bills in first place with a 6-2 record. Miami Dolphins in second place with a 4-3 record. The New England Patriots in third place with a 2-5 record. And the New York Jets in a sad fourth place with a sad 0-8 record. You obviously all know from my rants on the podcast about how I feel about the New York Jets. And if you do not know, the New York Jets are having a horrible season. I don't know. You would have to be very new to the podcast to know that. But if you've been watching the podcast for even a week, you would understand how bad the New York Jets are. So they're an 0-8. So let me just say this for 1 second. The New York Jets, I'm going to completely throw out. They're not even in contention. They're not even going to win the division. They're not even going to come close to the playoffs. They're probably going to finish 0-16. So I'm going to first off take, because I don't want to include them in here. I don't even want to say the Jets are going to finish fourth. I just want to say the Jets are just done. We're just going to throw them out, okay? So technically, we're talking about a 3-team division right now, because all three of these teams actually have a legitimate shot. I know the Patriots are 2-5, but they're not completely done. 2-5, they're probably not going to win the division, but their playoff chances are not completely crumbled. Are every week are they getting slimmer and slimmer? Yes. But I wouldn't say they're completely crumbled like the New York Jets. So I'm just going to take the Jets out here because we're 0-8. We're not going to do anything. You could say goodbye to our season. We're going 0-16. We're focusing on next season at this point. So we got the Bills, Dolphins, and Patriots remaining here. So to be honest with you, I think this is pretty easy. I actually, as a matter of fact, looking at all the divisions, I think the NFC East was one of the harder ones for me to pick because it's such a toss-up. I mean, realistically, do I think the Giants are going to win a division? No, but realistically, mathematically, they're not out of it. I mean, you could say the same thing about the Jets, but the Giants and the Redskins have a serious shot still. I mean, the Redskins are 2-5. They're in second place. Like, they still have a serious shot of winning the division. So, I think this is a kind of a division where I don't know if I fully believe in the Miami Dolphins. I know a lot of people are jumping on the Tua bandwagon. I shouldn't say bandwagon because he hasn't really won anything yet, but they're jumping on the Tua, wagon or whatever. They're jumping on the Tua train. They're kind of jumping on it. They're all believing high in Tua. They're believing that he could do great things. They're believing that he's going to lead them to a playoff. He got a win against a very good defense in the Rams. He got a big win against a good team, period, in the Los Angeles Rams. I don't believe, though, that the Dolphins are going to win a division. I don't either with the Patriots. I know a lot of people are talking about the Dolphins. I know, if they win this week and the Bills lose this week, who they're playing the Seahawks, who are as tough as it can get. I personally think that the Bills will personally win a division. And the reason why is I think when it comes down to their players, they're more veteranized. I think overall they are the better team than Miami Dolphins. And if this does come down to, if it is tied and the Bills already have up 1-0 in the series against the Dolphins, so they just have to play them one more time, beat them and up beat 2-0, and that's really going to make the Dolphins' chances even more difficult. I don't think the Patriots win it either. You kind of heard my reasoning earlier. They're 2-5. Bills are 6-2. If the Patriots finish, even 7-9, 8-8, I would imagine the Bills are probably finishing. I'm going to make a prediction. Bills probably finish around 11-5, 12-4 range. And I don't think the Dolphins or the Patriots are really going to catch up to that area there. So I do think the Buffalo Bills win the AFC side. I think they win it pretty comfortably. I think the Dolphins will finish around 8-8. Patriots probably 6-10, 7-9. And I think the Bills 12-4, 11-5, which is actually kind of where I predicted early on in the season. Kind of in that range, I would say there. So, AFC East, I have the Bills. I think this is pretty easy. So I have the Buffalo Bills winning the division in AFC East. Next up, we got the AFC West, who consists of the Kansas City Chiefs, first place 7-1, Las Vegas Raiders, second place 4-3, Denver Broncos, third place 3-4, and the Chargers, fourth place 2-5. Who, to be honest, all four of these teams here are not completely out of the playoffs. You obviously got the Chiefs and the Raiders who are completely in. And then you have the Broncos who aren't out of it. And you have the Chargers who have played so well. If only they could finish off games, they could be 6-1 right now. So, to be honest, all these teams are in contention. Do I think the Chargers are going to come back and win a division? No. Do I think the Broncos are going to come back and win a division? No. Do I think the Raiders are going to win a division? No. Even though they did beat the Chiefs, I don't think so. I think the Chiefs win this division. I think this is very simple. This division does have contenders. I mean, I'm not saying that the Chargers are going to make it, but if they win 2 games in a row here, their chances are not completely gone. Are they slim? Yes. Are they none? No. A team that has no chances is like a New York Jets. So the Chargers are almost hanging on to a little bit of a glimmer of hope. You're in a tunnel right now. They're getting back. It was shining, and now they're getting farther and farther and farther and farther away from the light. Now it's really kind of just a glare. It's kind of just a little bit of a glare left for the Chargers. They lose again, I think their hopes are done. But there's still a slimmer bit of light for the Chargers. And the Broncos have played well the past 2 weeks, so the Broncos are impossible. I'm not going to say to make a run. Like I said, people, I don't mean when I say these teams are in contention, I don't mean it meaning like this is a team that's going to make it. I mean that there's a lot of teams that are in contention. That's why November's a big month. You're going to take this set of teams. In the beginning of the season, all 32 teams are in contention, right? Because you never saw them. Week 1, that's why my power rankings in week 1 is based off of what I see on the roster and stuff, right? No injury, stuff like that. So week 1, this is how it goes. This is why November's such a big month for NFL. Week 1, you get your big teams, right? You get, everyone's technically included because you haven't seen anyone play left, especially without a preseason. Then you got then after week 1, you don't get an idea. But after week 1, we kind of already knew, the Jets were kind of done. After we saw out of the Redskins, a lot of people got hyped. But then you get into the midseason, and then that really shrinks from about here. And then after the season obviously ends, you're down. After November, you're down to about here. You'll have, your division winners. You'll have your wild card, and you'll have those 1 or 2 teams that are going to still have to battle it out. So right now, the Chargers are technically in these set of teams. The Jets were out here. They're now gone. We've moved to about here. After November, we'll be moved to about here. And obviously, when the season closes, we'll be here. And then ultimately, Super Bowl, you'll get to here where, you got AFC team, NFC team. So I do think the Chiefs win a division. I think they win this pretty easily. I know the Raiders beat them early in the season. I understand that, but all in all, Chiefs, I think, are running away with this division. Closest team is 3 games back. So 3 games back and 3 in the win column and 2 in the loss column. So the Chiefs would really have to really mess up here to lose this division. So I do think the Chiefs win this division. I think they win it pretty easily. The second team will probably be the Raiders, but I think the Raiders finish 9-7 maybe, and the Chiefs, I think, finish 13-3, something around there. So I don't foresee the Chiefs really losing that much. I don't see the Chiefs messing up that much to lose this division. So I think the Chiefs win this division. Next up, we got the AFC North. This is a big division. This was a tough one. All 3 of the top 3 teams are completely in contention for the playoffs, and I don't mean that by you're one of these teams. I really mean that seriously, the Browns could be a wild card team. Now, do I think the Chargers will be? No, but what I'm saying is the Browns really could be. So these teams are actually seriously in contention. You got the Pittsburgh Steelers, only undefeated left in all the NFL at 7-0. You got the Baltimore Ravens, who are 5-2. You got the Cleveland Browns, who are 5-3, and you got the Cincinnati Bengals, who are a tough 2-5-6, who a lot of people expected to be even worse. I actually, from what I've saw in the season, I thought they would be better. They're playing much better than what their record shows. They've been blowing a lot of games as well. I think this division is one of the more stacked divisions. I mean, you can make an argument that all 4 teams are actually pretty solid. I mean, I know the Bengals are 2-5-1, but you look at all these games they've blown. They're a solid team, and then you got the first 3 teams of the division. I think this is one of the only divisions out there where the first 3 teams are over 500. Okay, no, the NFC West does. Never mind, the NFC West does as well. And yeah, so this and the NFC West are the only 2 divisions where all 3 out of the 4 teams are above 500. So it's a pretty strong division. I don't think the Bengals win, although I did say that I don't think the Bengals win. I also personally don't think that Cleveland wins either. I think with all these injuries, with Beckham out, I just don't foresee it happening. I don't think this Cleveland Browns team is good enough. I don't believe in them enough to win it over a team like the Pittsburgh Steelers right now, who a lot of people have going all the way to the Super Bowl. So I don't think the Cleveland Browns do. As for the Ravens, to be honest, I have not liked what I saw of the Baltimore Ravens this season. I've seen them play about 2-3 times. I understand they've played 7 games, so I've seen less than half of them. I saw them play Monday night. I saw the tail end of that Steelers game. And I think I also saw, I'm pretty sure, the tail end of the Eagles-Ravens game. So, I have not really seen them play like a full game. But from what I've heard, looking at their numbers, looking at stats, looking at what Lamar Jackson does, looking at the end of the Chiefs game, I watched the whole game because that was a Monday night game. Looking at the 3 games I watched of them, I do not think the Ravens are all that this season. I think last season they were much better. And actually, I think the Ravens, to be honest, I don't think they go very far in the playoffs. I really don't. I don't know. Something about this Ravens team this year, I just don't believe they're the same as last season where they're going to go 14-2. I don't think so. I think they finished in the 10-6, 11-5 range. I don't know. Just something about this team. I just don't know. They still have to play the Steelers one more time, which is more likely another loss. I don't know. Something about this team, I just have not liked completely what I saw. Last season, I was completely on the Ravens. This season, I'm kind of off of them a little bit. I don't know, just something from what I've seen in the times watching them, looking at the numbers, I don't really know if this is a team that's going to be able to compete with the Steelers, who a lot of people think are going to win the Super Bowl, and I do think the Steelers win a division. I mean, you cannot say that right now. I mean, the Steelers are cruising, people. The Steelers are cruising right now. I mean, the Pittsburgh Steelers are really cruising right now, and I think if they can continue to do what they're doing, I think they'll be in good position to possibly make the Super Bowl and win a division. So I do think the Steelers win the AFC North. Next up, we got the AFC South. That consists of the Titans 5-2, Colts 5-2, Houston 1-6, and Jacksonville 1-6. So let me just say this: Texans, Jacksonville out. Not even going to talk about them; they're out. I mean, I think the Texans will finish around 5-11 range. That's not going to get them to win in the division. It might in the NFC East, but they're not in the NFC East. They're in the AFC South. So I'm going to first say this: Houston, Texas. Bye. Jacksonville Jaguars, bye. They've been taken from my phone and thrown off my desk. So those are the 3 teams. So far, the Jets, the Texans, and Jaguars are all taken from my phone and been thrown off my desk. I don't think they have any shot. And if they make it, then that would be mind-boggling to me. This is a close race. The Titans, Colts. You've got 2 good teams here. I think, both these teams have their strengths. I think their Titans' strength is their offense. I think the Colts' strength is their defense. And I think the Colts' weakness is their offense. And I think the Titans' weakness is their defense. So each team's strength is the other team's weakness. So the Titans' strength is offense. That's the Colts' weakness. The Titans' weakness is defense. That's the Colts' strength. So, am I saying weakness meaning they're bad? No. To be honest with you, do I think the Colts' offense is all that good? Not really. But the Titans' defense, I don't think is all that bad. They're secondary. It's their secondary. In terms of fantasy, they let up the most fantasy points for receivers. So you gotta love that matchup. And I don't know. Down the stretch, they might be going up against some good teams with some good receivers, and they're gonna have to watch out with that. I just don't know. I don't know. The Colts offense, just something about it. I just don't know if this is a team that's going to be able to carry them all the way through to win a division like this. I just don't know. I think the Titans offense could be so lethal. You got Derrick Henry, you got Ryan Tannehill, A.J. Brown, Jonnu Smith. At times, his offense could look like a real top 5 team in the league. I mean, Derrick Henry, you're talking about a running back who can get a burst out for a 90-yard run and truck 5 people in the process. And I think the Titans at the end of the day, I think the Titans have more weapons than the Indianapolis Colts do. I think the Colts are doing it more as a team effort. I think the Titans are doing it more like, we got a couple better players in them. I think the Colts don't have as many stars. They don't have many stars there. I mean, Phillip Rivers isn't really a star anymore, right? Derrick Henry's a star. A.J. Brown's growing into a star. Jonnu Smith's a top 5 tight end in the league this season if you look at the numbers. Ryan Tannehill is, we waited so long to see what he was all about. He's showing us how good he can be. This is a Titans team that's full of stars, and I don't think the Colts really are. The Colts are full of young players that are still growing, and I think at the end of the day, the Titans will win this division. I think it's going to be very narrow. I think this is going to be a division that won't be decided until the final maybe 2-3 weeks of the season, so you probably won't find out who wins this division, I think, until December is my personal opinion. So I think the Titans do win, but I think it's going to take a long time to really decide because I think both these teams are going to be neck and neck the rest of the way. So that wraps it up for the AFC. So we got the AFC East, the Bills, AFC West, Chiefs, AFC North, Steelers, AFC South, Titans. Now we move into the NFC, and we're starting off with the dreadful NFC East here. So we're starting off with the dreadful NFC East here. The NFC East, let me just put it, is horrible. I mean, the NFC East, let me just put it, is the laughingstock division of the NFL. It is sad It is embarrassing. It is just all in all ugly. I mean, there's not much else for me to say other than those 5-6 words that I just used. Embarrassing, dreadful, laughingstock, ugly, horrible. It's almost like the New York Jets. Think of any bad word you could think of. Horrible, atrocious, ugly, and apply that to the Jets and apply it to the AFC East. The Jets and the AFC East share a lot in common. They are awful. The NFC East is a funny division. I mean, we're sitting here today on November 4th, Wednesday, November 4th, 2020, talking about a possible division where all 4 teams still mathematically can win the division. Now, I know there's a lot of divisions where teams can still mathematically do it, but what I mean by mathematically is they have a serious chance. Now, do I think the Giants win the division? No. Am I going to throw them off my table? I don't know. Because if they lose this week against the Redskins, and the Redskins then go up with 3 wins, I think the Giants are far from making the division. I mean, the Giants are the only one lost team. And I want to say something. I'm not just saying this because it's the New York Giants. Whoever finishes last in the division could be considered one of the worst NFL teams outside of the New York Jets. If the New York Jets were not a thing, finishing last in the AFC East is actually ugly. They should make an award for that. Whoever finishes last in the NFC East has to get, that's bad. That's almost like the Mr. Irrelevant award. Look at the team that finished last in the NFC East. Finishing last in the NFC East this season is going to be sad. Whoever it is, it could still be the Eagles. It could still possibly be the Eagles, people. I mean, you're talking about a division, the division leader. The leader in the division has 3 wins, okay? There is a couple of divisions that the last place team or second to last place team has 3 wins, okay? So the leader in this division, for example, let's just say if the Eagles were in the NFC West, the Eagles would be in last place right now. Just to put that into standards. Let's go into more of a division where it's not as strong as the NFC West. Because the NFC West, their worst team's 4-4, which actually is very good. Let's go into a division like the East. It's pretty balanced. If they were in the East right now, they would be in 3rd place. If they were in the East. So, if you replace them with the Jets, they would be in 3rd place, and the Patriots would be in last. So, a lot of these, every division you put in the division lead for the NFC East, they would either be in last or 3rd, or possibly the rare chance of 2nd. But I don't think there would be 2nd. No, there wouldn't be 2nd. They would be 3rd in the South. They would be last in the North. Or no, if they traded spots with the Bengals, they would be last. Or they would be 4th in the North. They would be 3rd in the West, 3rd in the East. They would be, they would be last in the West. They would be 4th in the North. Or 3rd in the North, and then they would also be 3rd in the South. So your best bet, it would be, so all the other divisions in NFL, the leading in the NFC East would either be 3rd or 4th. The best is 3rd. So you're either last or 2nd to last. So pretty much this means that if the winner of this division, more than likely in another division, would not be a playoff team. So and that's the sad part. That is the sad part. The winner of the NFC East could very well be 7-9, 6-10, and I am not kidding when I say that. The winner of the NFC East could be 6-10, and there's still that chance. Do I think it's going to happen? No. There was talk in the beginning of the season, which I actually bought into a little bit. Actually, I kind of didn't because I didn't think 5-11, but there is still a very small chance. I mean, the Eagles would absolutely be playing horrible that a team goes 5-11. In the Eagles' case, it would be 5-10-1 because they had that tie against the Cincinnati Bengals. So let's actually get into the NFC East here. Enough making fun of it. We have the Philadelphia Eagles coming in first place at 3-4-1. The Redskins come in second at 2-5. Dallas comes in third at 2-6, and the Giants come in a dreadful last at 1-7. So, to be honest, first off, I'm going to say I don't think the Giants win in division. The Giants had 2 games that they could have won. They could have beat the Buccaneers, blew that game, blew the Eagles game. If they win both of those games, you're sitting at right now the Giants being 3-5 and being in very good contention to win the division. But with those 2 losses, with those 2 painful losses, those blown losses they had, I don't think the Giants win the division. And I'm also going to say I don't think the Cowboys do either. You look at this team as the skill has, I just don't, right? Dalton's still out. Now they might be putting in Cooper Rush over Ben DiNucci. You obviously had Dak had the ugly, gruesome injury early in the season, which really hurt him. Not only did it hurt their season, but it also hurt Dak because now, he might, now you want to see what he can return. And luckily, Dak's making a good recovery at the moment. Luckily, he's doing very well after his injury. He's doing very well right now. He's obviously still, he's not going to be back on the playing field this season, obviously. If he does, then he's not human. But obviously, with him lost, I mean, the Cowboys really look lost. So I'm actually going to say the Cowboys, I don't think are going to win it. Does that mean that they might finish last? Does that mean that they're going to finish last? No, they might very well finish second. I'm just going to say I don't think they win it. And the Redskins and the Eagles are actually neck and neck here. Something about the Redskins, I just don't know. I just don't know how I feel about their offense still. Their defense can make plays and stuff. I just don't know how I feel about their quarterback situation. I don't know if I fully trust Kyle Allen, and Redskins fans could probably say this too. I don't know if you want to really fully trust Kyle Allen. Like, can Kyle Allen be the dude that wins you the AFC East? Now, would I be surprised if Kyle Allen wins the Redskins the AFC East? Heck no, because this division, it seems anything's possible. I mean, to be honest, now I know this might sound outrageous to say, but if the Jets were in the NFC East, they would actually not be out of it. They are 0-8, but if they were in the NFC East, all they would have to do is win like 4 games to be first. Now, depending on what the Eagles do. But that's what's crazy. A 1-7 team is still not completely out of it. So as for the Redskins, though, I don't think they win. And as a matter of fact, I do think the Eagles win this division. I think this is pretty clear. I think this is pretty obvious. I think the Eagles win. I think they will win a division around 6-9-1. 7-8-1, something around there. I don't think they win the division at a record of, they're finished away at 10-4-1 or 11-4-1. I don't think they do that. I don't think they finish the division either. I don't think they finished division either around like a 10-win marker either. I just don't, a 10-5-1 something. I think they'll finish at best 9-6-1. Actually, at best 8-7-1. I think at best. Obviously they did have the tie, so that's why it's 8-7. So I think they'll finish the division somewhere around there. I mean, I just don't know. This NFC East is just so weak, and anything's really possible in this division at this point. You don't even know really what to say at this point because this division is so bad. Anything's possible. So I do think the Eagles will win the division now, and I think it's going to come close. I think it's them and the Redskins will come down to the wire, and I think it's a big week for the Redskins against the Giants for playoff possible hopes. They win this game, they're 3-5. There's still a glimmer of hope there for the Washington Redskins. So I do think the Eagles win a division though for the NFC East. Now I move on to a actual good division in the NFC West, where the Seahawks come in 6-1 first place, Cardinals 5-2 second place, Rams 5-3 third place, and the 49ers 4-4 last place. So I want to say something. I understand the Rams are 49ers, sorry. I understand the 49ers are 4-4. I understand they're still very well in contention to not only win a division, but to also possibly make the playoffs. I understand that. But look at the injuries on defense. They just lost Kittle. They just lost Garoppolo, who might need surgery. They're now down to Nick Mullins. I'm going to say this to the 49ers. I'm going to take them and throw them out. I don't think this is a team that's going to make the playoffs. I understand they're only 4-4. I don't think this is a team that's going to go ahead and win it all. Or not win it all. Go ahead and win this division. Now, if all of them were healthy, if Garoppolo and Kittle don't get injured, there's still a chance. Would I have predicted him to win? No, I would not have thrown him off the table, though. But with Nick Mullins, all these injuries, I'm going to take the 49ers and throw them off the table. I don't think they're going to win. I think, as a matter of fact, they might finish the season 6-10, 5-11. With all these injuries, I don't think you'll see many more wins out of the 49ers. And if they do, prove me wrong, and I will be completely wrong. Make it to the Super Bowl. I mean, you proved us all wrong last season, so prove us wrong again. But I think a lot of the NFL players around the league, and I think even 49ers fans will admit, this season's in a dark area right now for the 49ers. And I think the only way they win this season is somehow a miracle. Meaning, the only way they turn around the season and somehow make the playoffs is a miracle. I think they might finish the season 6-10, 5-11. I don't think they get many more wins. So I'm going to take the 49ers and actually throw them off because with all these injuries, I just don't think it's going to be possible for them to do very successful. Then we have the Rams. I'm going to keep them on there. The Rams are playing very good. You got Jared Goff Aaron Donald has made a very good impact. You got Robert Woods, who's having a very good season. Out of the blue, he's having a very good season. He's always been decent, but this year he's going off the charts and having a really, really, really good year this season. So I think the Rams will be definitely a contender. And now we kind of hone in here really on the Seahawks and the Cardinals. You obviously got the Seahawks, a team who has probably the MVP front runner right now in Russell Wilson. You have a possible top 5 receiver in the NFL right now in DK Metcalf. You have a solid running back in Chris Carson, and then you have a defense who is not completely healthy, but when they're healthy, they can be lethal as well. So I think this Seahawks team overall is a very good team. The one thing that concerns me about the Arizona Cardinals are they are very young, and I don't know if I completely trust their defense yet. Isaiah Simmons has made some good plays. I just don't know if I completely trust him yet. Budda Baker has done pretty well. I don't know if I completely trust his defense. If it comes down late in the season to these division games, I understand they had a very good week against Russell Wilson where he had 3 interceptions. I understand that. But if it comes down late in the season, I just don't really know. Especially, if it comes down late in the season where it's cold, maybe Kyler Murray's having an off day, I don't know if they can rely on that run game. Kenyon Drake is not had a great year, and can you really rely on Chase Edmonds to go up against this Seahawks defensive front and be that solid? I think this is a Division 2 that won't be decided until December. I think this is a division that you're going to have to wait a little bit to see. I think if both teams keep winning, it's going to come down to very well one of the final matchups, either of the season or between each other. So I do think the Seahawks pull this one out, but I do think it's going to be close, and it's going to be a fun season. 2 overpowering, 2 high-power offenses going against each other. I would love to watch that again. I do think the Seahawks do win a division, though. I think they'll win it around 13-3, 14-2. I mean, I think they go 13-3 possibly. And I think the Cardinals might go right behind them. 11-5, 12-4. I think is right behind them. So this is really going to be a very close matchup till the end. So I do think the Seahawks win the division. Next up, we got the NFC North, which consists of the Green Bay Packers 5-2 first place, Chicago Bears 5-3 third place or second place. Sorry, Detroit Lions 3-4 third place, and Minnesota Vikings 2-5 in a tough fourth place. So the Vikings, mathematically, looking at their upcoming schedule, looking at the numbers, are not completely out of it. But personally, I don't think they're going to win the division. Does that mean I'm going to throw them off? No. The people I'm throwing off, I think, have really no shot at making the playoffs or have real no shot at even winning the division. Do I think the Niners have any shot at winning the division? No. You look at a team like you could say, oh, well, you actually think then the Chargers have? No, but the Chargers aren't completely out of it. I don't want to throw them off my table yet. I think the Chargers could still very well finish maybe, higher than, last right now. As for the Vikings, the Vikings are a very good team. Adam Thielen, Dalvin Cook. Here's the thing with the Vikings. They showed last week how good they can be. This is almost the same exact team, same exact coaching staff, same exact team they had last season. They had years past where they have found success. And now they're struggling, which could mean one of two things. Either the players are not, either it's on the coaching or it's on the players. It's one of two things. You got to look at the numbers. Are just players having down years, or are players doing good, just the coaches are making bad decisions late? I think it's a little bit of both, because I will admit Thielen's had a little bit of a down year. He has not played amazing. Cook has been injured, but he's had a very good season. Kirk Cousins has had a down year. Their defense has had a down year, but their coaching staff as well. I think, looking at some of the games, their coaching staff, I think, too, could... I think some guys on that coaching staff could be gone at the end of the season, especially if they finish 5-11, 4-12. But the Vikings team's interesting. This Vikings team's fun to watch if they're on. I'll tell you that for sure. And then we have the Lions, who are a very interesting surprise. This was a team who was, who was Matt Patricia was going to get fired. Do I still think Matt Patricia gets fired at the end of the season? Yes. Do I think he still gets fired if they finish 9-7? Yes, because I think the Lions fans hate him. I don't think the players are very liked with him. I mean, many players have came out and expressed their frustration. But the fact that they're 3-4 right now and, let a game away from them against the Colts. I mean, they almost beat the Colts. I mean, they were winning by 2-3 scores in that game and blew it late against the Colts because ultimately their defense isn't very good. The Lions are interesting. Lions are an interesting team. They don't have that much skill. You got to watch out. Kenny Golladay is now out. You got to see, what Matthew Stafford does. You got to see if DeAndre Swift can have a bounce back week. I want to see a couple of these things for the Detroit Lions. I don't think the Detroit Lions win. I think the Packers win his division pretty easily. And the reason I think that is because I think, you got Devontae Adams, you got Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Jones will come back healthy sooner rather than later. You got some of those guys, their running backs are hurt right now, but you're lucky you have a receiving core and a quarterback in Aaron Rodgers who can work around that. You're lucky this team is not a team that's a power run team. You're lucky you're not like a Ravens where you run the ball 60% of the time. This is a team that throws the ball a lot more than they run, and that's why they're lucky. They are hurt right now, but when this team's healthy, they could very well be a contender for the Super Bowl. A lot of people think that, and I don't know if I think that, but I definitely do think they're one of my teams. If I had to choose 5, they would definitely be on the list. And then you go to the Chicago Bears. I just don't, like I said, I've expressed my concerns for this Bears team so many times. I don't know if Foles is the answer. I've said this so many times about the Chicago Bears. Do I really think this is a team that's going to go ahead and win its division, win more games? I don't. I think this is tumbling down. I think the Bears had a good start. I think they're tumbling down. I think that was a couple 2-3 week masterpiece by the Bears, and I think it's coming crumbling down again. They faced up against 2 very good teams back to back. Did not look very good. So I think the Packers win the division. Next up, we got the NFC South. We got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, first place 6-2. New Orleans Saints, second place 5-2. Carolina Panthers, third place 3-5, and the Saints, fourth place 2-6. I've said it so many times. I can't believe I'm saying this about the Buccaneers. The Saints too. I thought for sure the Saints would win this division, but the Saints at times, and so did the the Buccaneers. They did not look very good against the New York Giants, and I'll tell you that for sure. The Buccaneers did not look very good against the New York Giants. Let's start off. Falcons, they're a good team, good offense, bad defense, high-powering offense. I don't think they win this division. Then you go to the Panthers. The Panthers 3 weeks ago were a talk. A lot of people were talking about them. A lot of people were talking about Teddy Bridgewater, DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson. When McCaffrey comes back, this team's really going to explode. Those ended quickly. They're now sitting at 3-5 on a 3-game losing streak, and now are in a position where they're possibly thinking about maybe the future now. Because 3-5, tough situation to come out of. I don't think the Panthers win either. I think it's going to come down to the Buccaneers and the Saints. And I think this is going to be a Division 2 that's not going to be settled, or not going to be really get a good idea of who's going to win a division until December. Because I think both these teams are very good. I think both these teams at times can be very good. I think it will come down to one of their final matchups. You obviously saw the Buccaneers lost in the beginning of the season against them. If they lose again against them, then ultimately the Saints probably will win. But if the Bucs beat them again and the Bucs continue to play like they are, then there's a chance the Buccaneers win. The Buccaneers, if they want to win this division, they got to play a lot better than they did Monday. Brady's got to play a lot better. I do give the Buccaneers the division win. I can't believe I'm saying that. I have not liked what I saw out of the Saints ultimately this season. I understand they're 5-2. I understand they're on this big 4-game win streak. I understand that. I still do not like what I've seen out of Breeze. He does not have his top target back. Michael Thomas might come back, but I still don't know if I believe in him yet. I do give the Buccaneers this division. So this is the NFC. NFCs, we got the Eagles. NFC West, we got the Seahawks. NFC North, we got the Packers. NFC South, we got the Buccaneers. So overall, these are my predictions. This is going to be my early Super Bowl prediction. I understand it's not really early. It's midway through the season, so you can start thinking about playoffs, obviously. But this is my midway point prediction. From what I've seen in the first 8 weeks, from what I'm expecting through the final 9 weeks of the season, or whatever, 8-9 weeks of the season. These are based off of numbers, what I've seen so far, what I'm expecting. This is my playoff expectation. So this is really what I think is going to happen. I think the Kansas City Chiefs will be in the Super Bowl for the AFC. I think it's going to be the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. I know a lot of people are questioning this. I do think they might run into the Steelers along the way. I think they might run into them in the AFC Championship game. That's a very well possibility depending on how the seeding lines up. But here's my thing with the Kansas City Chiefs, right? The Kansas City Chiefs are a very good team. They're a very good football team. I know the Steelers are 7-0. I know that. But at the end of the day, this is a Chiefs team that has been here before, has been to these big moments before. Not that the Steelers haven't, but the Steelers have surrounded themselves to a lot of young talent in the past 2-3 seasons. I think the Chiefs win. I think ultimately Mahomes is still, one of the best in the league. I think ultimately he is still, playing at a high level. And I think, with the addition of Le'Veon Bell, you already had Elaire, you already had Hill, you already had Kelsey. This is a defense that's almost improving every single week. I think the Chiefs make the Super Bowl for the AFC. And for the NFC, I think it's the Seahawks. And I know this might sound crazy to many of you. A lot of people think it's going to be the Buccaneers or the Packers. But I think it's going to be the Seahawks. right? The Seahawks have looked phenomenal this season. Russell Wilson has looked like a true MVP candidate. And I haven't seen that out of the Buccaneers. I don't think they will. And I think the Packers will possibly be in the NFC Championship game as well, depending on, like I said, how the seeding matches up as well. I'm not buying into this whole Buccaneers Super Bowl, home, all that stuff. I'm not buying into that. I think the Seattle Seahawks will make the Super Bowl. So at the moment, it's the Chiefs Seahawks in the Super Bowl. And I do think the Chiefs ultimately will possibly, more than likely, I'm going to say Chiefs win. At the moment, Chiefs win. So that could very well change. I could look at it and, go ahead and look at it, 3 weeks from now and say, yep, this is changing. But at the moment, I have the Chiefs, Seahawks, and Chiefs winning. I just think overall the Chiefs are the best team in the NFL. I still think that. I think the Chiefs are really up there. So that is based off. And you, like I said, you haven't seen some of these big marquee matchups yet. So definitely going to be very interesting to see how things go. So with all that being said, that will conclude my predictions for the NFL. Now we move on to the MLB awards predictions coming up next. Alrighty, so... Alright, so here we go. So we got the MLB awards. What's that? The 4th? Okay. Alright, so these are the award finalists. So, I'm going to run through, I'm going to give you Rookie of the Year, Manager of the Year, and MVPs for both leagues. That's what I'm going to give you. I'm going to run through it, tell you why I think this person's going to win. And yeah, today was a prediction day, I guess. Today was a big prediction day. I knew I was going to do the MLB award predictions. But actually a little bit before the podcast, I was looking for another topic. And at first I was going to talk about Joe Douglas's interview yesterday. He did his midseason interview, Who Are the Jets GM, and I did not like a lot what he said. I was going to come on here and talk about it, but I was like, you know what? I kind of already I've talked so much about Jets on this podcast. I've talked so much about, how bad they are for the viewer. I just don't know if you would find that as entertaining. I do come on this podcast every Monday and rant about them. So as a viewer, I don't know if you would want to hear that again. Because I did not like a lot what he said. He was sticking up for Adam Gase. Don't like that. I understand he's the GM and in position, but you got to sometimes be honest, and he was not honest yesterday. Some things I agreed what he said on, and that is what he said. He said, our goal here is not to lose, it is to win, and I agree with that, right? A lot of people are saying tank. I'm not a fan of tanking. I would rather see my team win. Like I said, I want Gase fired, but if that means we go 8-8, I would love that. Even though we don't get the first pick, I don't like us to lose. And I don't want to see the Jets go 0-16, And we go 1-15, we could still very well get the first pick. So anyway, so let's get into it. So the MLB awards finalists unveiled for MVP, Cy Young, Rookie, and Manager of the Year. Most valuable players. So these are the MVP candidates for the American League and the National League. So we'll start off with NL first here as it pops up on my screen first. So like I said, go through, give you who I think is going to win it, tell you why. Let's get into it. So MVP, this will be announced on November 12th. NL MVP finalists are Mookie Betts of the Los Angeles Dodgers, Freddie Freeman of the Atlanta Braves, and Manny Machado of the San Diego Padres. So I want to first tell you this. I think all three of these players had a pretty good season. I'm not a big fan of Manny Machado, but at the end of the day, he did have a decent season. That whole Padres team had a good season, so I guess his name could be on there as well. But I personally think Mookie Betts will win the MVP, and here's why. I think, a lot of these guys on both, Freeman and Machado do it on both sides, do it on hitting and stuff like that, and I feel like Betts has done it on both sides of the ball. Betts has made some insane plays. You saw it in the World Series. He showcased it in the World Series. He has made some insane plays on defense and has made some insane plays on offense. and some crazy hits and some crazy plays on defense. He showcased it in the World Series. He proved his point on why he should win MVP. I think Mookie Betts wins it. He had a phenomenal season for the Dodgers. He obviously helped them big time win, obviously, the World Series, how you all know who won it. Los Angeles Dodgers obviously won the World Series, so he was a big help there, and I ultimately do think that Mookie Betts will win. Now, do I think this will be close? Yes, I think the voting will be close because I think all three of these players are going to be in good contention, but I do think Mookie Betts will ultimately come out on top as National League MVP. Next up, we got the American League MVP. Name I like to hear is on this list. We got Jose Abreu of the Chicago White Sox, DJ LeMahieu, La Machine of the New York Yankees. Obviously, glad to see him on there. Even if he doesn't win it, I'm glad to see him on there. Really like him, LeMahieu. We extended him an offer. Hopefully, he accepts it. Insane player, both on defensively and offensively. Just a fun player to watch. And then Jose Ramirez of Cleveland. Personally, I don't think Jose Ramirez wins it. I understand he's had a very good season, with the Cleveland early exit, with them not having the big season they were expecting. I don't know. I just feel like I didn't hear much buzz about Cleveland. I don't think his name's going to be in there much to win it. I think it's really going to come down to Abreu and LeMahieu, and especially Abreu because he's doing it at his age. He's had a couple good seasons, and this season out of the blue, not only the White Sox, but even Abreu really just jolted out of the middle of nowhere and had an insane season. I do ultimately think DJ LeMahieu will win it. I know this might be a little biased. I understand. It's also because I do want him to win it, but personally, I think he should. And you want to know why? This is why. He can not only hit home runs, he could play defense, hit home runs, hit singles, hits doubles. He won the Triple Crown. Why not give him an MVP? A guy who wins the Triple Crown should win the MVP. That's why I'm giving it to LeMahieu. A lot of these guys, these Abreu's, these, guys like this, they're big home run hitters. They're not like LeMahieu. LeMahieu had so many. LeMahieu holds the record, I think, for multi-hit games in Yankees history, or he broke a record for something like that. The amount of hits he gets in a season, LeMahieu, is just insane. That's why he got the Triple Crown. DJ LeMahieu, I do think, will win the MVP, and I think he should. Because he can not only hit home runs, he can get singles, doubles, RBIs, all that good stuff. LeMahieu wins. Next up, we got the Cy Young Award. This will be announced on November 11th. We'll start off with the National League as well. So the National League is Trevor Bauer of the Cincinnati Reds, Yu Darvish of the Chicago Cubs, and Jacob deGrom of the New York Mets. I think all three of these pitchers had a phenomenal year. You look at the numbers, you look what you saw on TV when you watched them. I thought all three of these pitchers had very good seasons. I think they all had a lot of good outings, all had good ERAs, all had good games overall. Overall, all had good seasons. That's understandable because they're all in the voting, so obviously they had to have good seasons. What sticks out to me here is one guy in particular, and that is Trevor Bauer. I do think he will win the Cy Young. DeGrom had an interesting season. He didn't, his final two starts were a little choppy. Then he got injured and weren't able to, finish out the starts, and that's where I really think it does hurt him in the Cy Young. So I do not think DeGrom will win 3 straight. Did DeGrom still have a very good season? Yes. Same thing with Yu Darvish. Did he have a very good season? Yes. But ultimately, I think Bauer will. And also because Bauer, what he did this season was phenomenal. He had a very good season, and he has not been this good his whole career. And it was really interesting to see. And when a guy, and I've always said this so long now, it's almost like a Mike Trout. He's not in the MVP voting this year, but a lot of people talk about Mike Trout. He doesn't win it because every year he's so good. When you see a guy like a Bauer, you see a guy that pops off for the first time in a season, everyone votes for him. So I do think Bauer will win the National League MVP, and I do think it's well-deserved because of how good he's been this season. So National League Cy Young, I think, goes to Trevor Bauer. Now we go to the American League Cy Young. We got Shane Bieber of the Cleveland Indians, Kenta Maeda of the Minnesota Twins, and Hyun-Jin Ryu of the Toronto Blue Jays. I saw Ryu pitch a couple times this season. I saw him pitch last season, obviously, with the Dodgers. Him being with the Blue Jays, I've seen him pitch a couple times, obviously, them playing the Yankees a lot. And I saw a lot out of Hyun-Jin Ryu. I know the Yankees hit him a couple times. He's had a couple very good seasons, not only with the Dodgers, but also with the Blue Jays. His first season with the Blue Jays, I thought, was very successful. I thought the Blue Jays overall this season, for not playing in their home, for putting into a tough position, I thought overall they had a good season. They obviously made the playoffs. So that in itself was a pretty big accomplishment. And I think Hyun-Jin Ryu was a big part of that. Same thing with Kenta Maeda and the Minnesota Twins. He obviously had one of the days, I remember flipping on the game watching ESPN, and they switched to it where he had a no-hitter going, and that was entertaining to see. They got broken up in the ninth, but he still had a big game. He still had a very good season. He was, I think, one of the big reasons, too. Not only the Twins hitting was very good, too, but he was one of the big reasons, too, I think, that the Twins made the playoffs as well. But ultimately, one guy that stands out among them all, the rest is Shane Bieber. And I understand he really struggled in his one start against the Yankees in the wild card round. I understand that, but this was a dude in the regular season that was almost unstoppable at times. I think this is one of the better pitchers in all the league at the moment. This was a dude that was almost unstoppable at times, and his all-speed was just unbelievable. He got so many guys out on junk pitches. I forget what number it exactly was. It was some sort of stat. It was some sort of very weird, odd stat. I remember they showing it in game one of the wild card round. It was, he had the most swinging pitches on junk pitches or something where it's 18 inches out of the middle of the strike zone. So he had a lot of pitches where guys were throwing in the dirt, which means his all-speed was really working. So I think Shane Bieber wins the American League Cy Young. Next up, we got the manager or the Rookie of the Year here for Rookie of the Year. Now this will be announced on November 10th. So we go to the National League here. We got Alec Baum of the Phillies, Jake Cronenworth from the Padres, and Devin Williams from the Brewers. I think all these guys are very good. I think they are all very solid players. I think, at the moment, all these guys had good seasons. You talk about all of them had good seasons overall, hitting-wise, defensively. Personally, I think Jake Cronenworth will win it, though. Just him being on that Padres team, a lot of other big-name guys were on that team. Just a big-name team this season, had a lot of success, made the playoffs, got noticed by many. That's why I think Jake Cronenworth will win it. He had a very good season hitting-wise and fielding, so I think he will win it. Ultimately, because of the name and the team and how much success they had this season, I think that's why he will win it. So I think Jake Cronenworth of the Padres will win the Rookie of the Year. American Rookie of the Year is Christian Javier, the Houston Astros, Kyle Lewis of the Mariners, and Luis Robert of the Chicago White Sox. I think Luis Robert wins this one. I liked a lot what I saw out of him. I think he had a very good season. I think he obviously had a very good season. And I think for him, I think he was one of the more bigger named guys here too, because this was another White Sox team too. Obviously nobody really talked about it, but this was a team too that made the World Series, or not the World Series, that made the playoffs. And this was a team that no one expected. As a matter of fact, their former manager is actually in the Manager of the Year voting. This is a guy that I personally think. I think personally Luis Robert will win. I think he overall had a better season when you're talking about just overall play-wise, and I do think he'll win it. Also, being on that White Sox team, a surprising season for them, I do think Luis Robert will win that. And then the next award is Manager of the Year. This will be announced on November 9th. So the National League is Don Mattingly of the Miami Marlins, David Ross of the Chicago Cubs, and Jace Tingler of the San Diego Padres. I personally think Don Mattingly will win this on the Marlins. Not only because he got them to the playoffs, this was the first team to suffer an outbreak. He had to go through so many different lineup changes, go through so many different minor leaguers, taxi squad, call-ups, players, signings, stuff like that. For all that he's been through to get his team to a playoffs and actually compete in the playoffs was pretty good. I think Don Mattingly wins that. And in the American League, we got Kevin Cash of the Tampa Bay Rays, Charlie Montoyo of the Toronto Blue Jays, Rick Renteria, formerly of Chicago White Sox. I think this is gonna be a good one. So I think it's going to be personally. I think it's gonna be either Charlie Montoyo of the Blue Jays or Rick Renteria. I think it's gonna be Charlie Montoyo, and the only reason is almost the same way with Mattingly. This was a Blue Jays team that a couple days before the season started realized they were gonna be playing in Buffalo. They had to completely move everything out and not really see their families. It was almost like they were in a bubble. And they had to move to, obviously, Buffalo. They had to play there. It was just a very odd situation. They were pretty much on the road all season long. And a lot of these guys I'm sure were living out of hotels because they did not have a place. And this was a very difficult season. And for him to keep his guys together like that, for him to still have his guys compete the way they did, play the way they did, was really, really good for them. And I do think that's why I give Charlie Montoyo it. And also, and this might be because I don't like the Rays at all, and I'm not a big fan of Kevin Cash, but also because Kevin Cash, he had one of those really crucial incidents in the World Series where he took out Blake Snell, and also the Rays were already having a decent season, and before that too. This was a Blue Jays team last season that did not have a good year, and for everything that they went through, involving the whole Toronto stuff and coming to the United States to have to play, it was really difficult, and he kept that team together and really had a successful season. So I think he will win that award. So that is my predictions for the MLB awards. Should be fun to see who wins all those. And now we move on to the games today in college football. So we go to games today. So we got, it looks like we got 6 games today. And then tomorrow we have 2 games tomorrow, which are actually bigger teams. Utah State, Nevada and Utah State are actually bigger teams tomorrow. And then obviously Friday you have your bigger teams. You have 2 ranked teams. Then you obviously got Miami. So definitely will be interesting there. But these are tonight's candidates, or these are tonight's winner, or tonight's possible. These are tonight's games. So we got first game is Eastern Michigan or Kent State versus Eastern Michigan. I'll give Kent State the win. They're favored. I'll give them the win. 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This game is on ESPN+. Next up, we got Akron and Western Michigan. I've known a little bit about Western Michigan. They've had a pretty, consistent program. Not as known, but they've had a consistent program for a smaller school for a long time now. A couple products have come out there, so I do think Western Michigan will get the win. This game's also on 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on ESPN3. Then we have Miami, Ohio at Ball State. I give Miami, Ohio the win. This game's on 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on CBS Sports. Then we have Northern Illinois and Buffalo. I've seen Northern Illinois play actually a lot. They usually play on these Wednesday games, so I've actually seen them play a lot in past years. But I think Buffalo is ultimately the better team. I think Buffalo wins. This game's at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on ESPN2. Then we got Central Michigan, Ohio. I'm actually going to pick against the spread here. I'll go with Ohio. Central Michigan, Ohio. I'll give Ohio the win. 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on ESPN. Bowling Green, Toledo. I give Toledo the win. I've known a little bit about this team, seen them play in the past. They've always had a pretty good program for being a smaller school. I give them the win. This game's on at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on ESPNU. So those are some of your games. And then obviously Miami plays on Friday. So those are some of the games there for that. That will do it for the podcast today. Just looking through, just making sure there's no other games there. So that will do it for the podcast today. Another good podcast. Really enjoyed predicting that stuff. Like I said, I'll keep you up. Not really. When I upload this video, I probably won't do much else. But just watch out for tomorrow's game as well. So that will do it for the podcast today. Hopefully you all enjoyed it. Hopefully you all enjoyed it. I'll see you all back here tomorrow on the podcast for hopefully predicting. Hopefully tomorrow we'll be talking about the Packers game. Hopefully that does not get canceled. Or else we're going to have to find some other stuff to talk about tomorrow as well. So that's obviously the goal there. So we got obviously got some football tonight. We got the smaller games. I'll watch them. Hopefully you do as well. Should be fun. It's football. So anything really. I'll tell you what, it's odd because usually the World Series is on. This has been like the first week without baseball. Getting used to it. But tonight I'll definitely be tuning into those college games because it's football. Something to watch. So with all that being said, hopefully you all enjoyed it. I will see you all back here tomorrow. So yeah, hopefully you all enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.